Hi, this is Gary Braley. Today we're going to take a look at starting up the Management Tracker database. There's other documentation available on the use of the system and a description of what the Management Tracker is all about, but this is a simple startup procedure that you can use if you have a disk, in this case the Tracker 26 version available, or you can download it off of the internet. If you decide to open the disk, what you'll notice inside, after double clicking, is two copies of the program. There's a version that's compatible with Microsoft Office 2007 and another version for Office 2003. We're going to look at the 2007 version, and inside you'll notice that there are two copies of the same database. The D version contains data, a lot of sample data. The P version is blank and will allow you to set up your own projects without interference from the sample data. We're going to use the D version just so you can see what's in a system with very limited amounts of data entry required. If we double click on the icon, we're required to enter a demonstration version password, and in this case the password is the letters DEMO, D-E-M-O. We click OK, and we notice that this copy of the Management Tracker will expire March 1st, 2010. Click OK. Enter a password, and since it's the demo version and your name is not yet in the database, go ahead and put in the name demo, D-E-M-O, and for the third time enter your personal password as demo. That's all it takes, and at this point, after you click Short Menu, you're up and running. You'll notice there are a set of data entry forms on this side where you can look up information or modify information or create new entries in the database. On the right side, there's a set of reports, including reports by responsible person, calendars by due date, and a number of other reports. Down below, we have the ability to enter information about people on our committees and on our teams, in our organization, and over on this side we see we can handle meetings, which includes meeting agendas, meeting minutes, and so forth, and we set up projects with this lower entry on the left side. Let's start out by just seeing what it takes to add new individuals into the database so that they can become users of the system. We open the Names Admin Data entry screen and put in the name of a person, Richard P. That's our format. You can use any format you want. This person is a user, so we'll check the user box, but we won't give Richard any administrative privileges. These other fields are all optional. If you want a place to keep somebody's phone number or email address, this is a place to do it. But primarily you need the name of the user and whether they are in fact a user or have administrative privileges. We can close that form, and now next we're going to take a look at project management, and this is a form we're going to be using a lot, but before we go in and use that form, we're going to look at how a project is set up. We're going to the project management form, and our task is to edit the project list because this program can manage many projects at the same time. To edit the project list, we click here, and we'll see we have a set of projects which we won't discuss, but except for the one down here, select the new LIS vendor. An LIS is a kind of information system that we need to choose, and we can see that that's the name. We just put in a name to create a project. If you have different departments or different major client groups, you might select the project organization. If this was for the Duluth plant or for the microproducts division, you would put the name of the organization in, but that's again optional. The key entries are the start of work, when the project begins, 9/1/2009, and when the project ends, 4/1/2010. We've also included a project manager, a location, and a brief description of what this project is about. So we've now set up the major parameters for a project, and now so we're ready to go to work. We'll go up to the top, close this entry, cancel here, open the project form, and in the project form we see we're now not creating a project, we're selecting one to work on. We're going to select the new LIS vendor. That's our project. We hit continue, And here we see the major form that we will work on most of the time. And we see a subject line right here. Select and announce a project team. That's one of the tasks in this project. We can scroll through by using these buttons at the top, scroll through another task, develop a mission and plan statements, prepare the communications plan, prepare details, selection, and schedule and description. These are all tasks that somebody has to do. And if you look down here, these tasks are associated with the LIS vendor project. The location is inserted. The author name comes from the person who is signed on when this task is created, so the person who actually made this entry. By default, the responsible person will also be Bobby, unless that name is changed. So in this case, Bobby has assigned, or someone has assigned that task to Candace. So this is all you have to do to create tasks, is go through one at a time and make entries into this field at the top. You'll notice that over here is the item's start date, and that's the start date for this particular entry. And here is the due date for that entry right below it. Every time you create a new entry, you can put a start date, you can put a due date, or you can go to these fields right here and have the calculation done for you. If you want the detailed selection schedule to be completed within 20 days of the start of the project, you put an S in this field, a 20 in this field, and another optional field is how long that task takes. Since this is to be completed 20 days from the start and is a 5-day duration, the program will calculate over here that it needs to be started on the 17th of September and finished 5 days later on the 21st. These entries, relative dates, are also, they're easy to allow us to schedule something as 5 days before the end of the project without having to do our own calculations. But there's a more important use for those dates, and that is we can actually reuse this list of tasks if we have a similar project a few months from now, and we will put new start and new end dates for the project, and the program will use these relative scheduling dates to adjust the new task schedule for our next implementation or whatever the project happens to be. So that's how you get up and running. That's how you begin working with a project. And let's go up here and close the form. Let's close this form, and let's see what kind of calendar might result from those simple entries. We'll print a calendar by due date, and we're going to select one project, and it's the new LIS vendor project, and we're going to select the by day version, although there's not too much difference. We'll select that version, and we see a calendar. We're going to actually enlarge it a little bit, and we see that oh crap, that didn't work. Okay, stop. We're going to take a look at the calendar by due date. The project that we're working on is to select the new LIS vendor. We hit by day, and we see a calendar. We can enlarge it, and we see that this is the calendar for the week of September 10th. We'll move it. We can also see it's only for the new LIS vendor project, so that if you ever glance at a calendar, you won't be misled into thinking this is the entire calendar. It's for one project. That's what we selected. We can see in September 2009, the week of September 6th, here are all the tasks that are involved. The due date, Wednesday, September 16th. John P. is working on this project. The entry in the database is number 612. We can use that if we ever want to look up all the details of that task. But his assignment is to develop the mission and plan statements. Judy H., by the 19th, is to prepare the communications plan. And this next discussion will go into more details on how you make entries in the database, and these include new kinds of tasks, new ways of coding and retrieving information in the database. Signing off, this is Gary Braley from Braley Consulting Services.